How you doing, everyone? Welcome back. Since the shooting and killing of Charlie Kirk, we have seen renewed calls for a second civil war in the United States. Second Civil War. And I'm telling you that the people who are clamoring for that, the ones who are threatening it, the ones who think that that's what they really want, are absolutely clueless. They don't understand history. They don't understand how the first Civil War went. They don't understand that they were the aggressors the first time around, and it didn't go well for them, right? And now they're threatening to be the aggressors this time around, and it's not going to go well for them. They don't understand that their ideology loses. History is not on their side. I had someone in my comments who is clamoring for a civil war, excited about getting it started. He says within the next 5 years, but whatever. Wait, why? Why 5 years? Why in the next 5 years? Seriously. We've been hearing about it for the last 15 years. So, at some point, you need to either just get it started or shut the fuck up. Alright? Seriously. Get it started or shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're asking for, right? First of all, who is your enemy? Who is the enemy? Because I'll tell you what, if you think that every cisgender white male is on your side, you're wrong. You don't have the majority of... You may have the majority of cisgender white men, but I doubt it. I doubt it. And you certainly don't have the majority of any other demographic. This is... it's not going to go well. You think that you have all the guns. Not true. Not true. Not even close to true. You think that you're the only ones who know how to use those weapons, that are proficient with those weapons. Again, not true. Not even close to true. There are a lot of people in this country who have guns. There are, roughly 340 million people, and I want to say 350 to 400 million guns. So that's more than one per person. That is more than one per person. So, to think that they're all concentrated in the hands of one political ideology, that is ridiculous thinking. That is foolish. Foolish to believe that. The first Civil War this country had, it was, they like to tell you that it's about states' rights, right? The first one. It wasn't about slavery, it was about states' rights. Yeah, but states' rights to do what? Considering several of the states very specifically mention slavery in their secession documents, and the fact that the Confederacy did not allow for any individual state to abolish slavery within their own borders. I don't know. You tell me what it was really about. But I tell you what, the Confederates, you know, the guys with the yeehaw flag, y'all lost the first time. Y'all lost the first time. I don't think you want that rematch. And now, you're out there with your Nazi ideologies. I mean, you're saying some very Hitlerian stuff. And, you know, referring to the right as fascists and Nazis is somehow the cause of political violence, when Charlie Kirk's shooter came from... We don't know his personal politics. I mean, I've seen some indications that he was on the left and some that he was on the right. I know that he comes from a Republican family, and the anonymous source that said he was very liberal had to... the source that printed that had to retract it, because that person said, well, I don't really remember a whole lot about our relationship when we were in school. So, we don't know. We don't know the ideology. But let me ask you this. Right? Civil War II. Right? First of all, what's going to be your Fort Sumter? What's going to be your Fort Sumter? Where is it going to be? Who is your enemy? Define your enemy. Because I'll guarantee there are plenty of people that you may think are your allies that are not. And I assure you that there are those who may otherwise agree with you, who will fight against you. In the first Civil War, we had people who would otherwise sympathize with the Confederate cause, who fought for the Union to preserve the Union. They've otherwise been sympathetic to the Confederate cause. There are people who may otherwise be sympathetic to your right-wing cause, who will fight against you for the sake of keeping this country together. Oh, and by the way, stop telling us that you support the Constitution when you very clearly don't. You don't even know what's in the Constitution. I mean, yeah, you mentioned the Second Amendment. You like to talk about that Second Amendment a whole awful lot. And lately you've been talking about the First Amendment, but you really only like your own freedom of speech. And instead of freedom of religion, you want freedom to impose your religion. Right? But you don't like the right of the people to peaceably assemble. And you don't like the freedom of the press. You don't like freedom of speech if it's not what you want to hear. You don't like freedom of religions that you don't adhere to. You don't support the right of the people to petition their government for a redress of grievances. You don't support the First Amendment. You also don't support the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th Amendments. You probably don't even know what the 3rd is at this point. Yeah, you would probably oppose that one. You know, if some military came busting through my front door right now, demanding that I put them up for the night, you know, that demanding that I give them a place to stay, y'all might be okay with that. But would you be okay with it if they did it at your house? Yeah. 3rd Amendment, you know, a lot of people have said for years that, you know, that's not even relevant anymore. But I think right now, it is very relevant. The only one you support is the 2nd Amendment, and you don't even really understand that one. I mean, you like to focus on the last part of it. And you know what? I actually pretty much agree with your take on the 2nd Amendment for the most part. For the most part. Except that there can be some restrictions. I don't even agree that we ought to ban certain types of weapons. I don't think it'll be as effective as people like to think. But you think you have all the guns. Which, by the way, you're fond of telling us it's in case a tyrannical government ever pops up, we have the duty to overthrow that government. And yet, we have a tyrannical government right now, and y'all are cheering it on. Y'all are the same ones that if he demanded that you turn in your weapons right now, y'all would be the first ones in line. You would be the first ones in line. So, go ahead and grab your yeehaw flags. And, you know, you think the South will rise again. You know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there are more people that oppose you than support you. There are more people that oppose you than support you. You want to point to 2024 as an example as to where I'm wrong on that. Well, let's take a look at what's been happening in the special elections since then. Let's take a look at what happened at the elections prior to that. Yeah, you have more people that oppose you than support you. You don't know who your enemy is. I mean, you're going to be surprised. You're going to be surprised at some of the people that will stand up against you. Some that you think don't have what it takes to stand against you, but they certainly will. Your ideology lost Civil War I. You will lose Civil War II. Your ideology lost World War II. Yeah, you are on that side. In fact, you know, some of you openly admit it, that that's the side that you're on. Some of you, you know, I mean, you like to blame political violence on the fact that you get called fascists, despite acting like fascists. And yet, at the same time, it's not that hard to put together a montage of Donald Trump himself calling people fascists, despite fascists being a right-wing ideology. A right-wing ideology. Of course, you're going to throw it back at me. Well, no, the Nazis were actually socialists. Sure, because it was called the National Socialist Party, right? And Hitler was an honest guy, right? Just being called the National Socialist Party doesn't mean there was anything socialist about it. Just like calling yourselves the Republican Party doesn't mean that you support a Republican form of government. You probably don't even know what the word Republican means. You probably don't even know what it means. I mean, I know you're fond of saying, well, it's not a democracy, it's a republic. Yep, and that shows your ignorance. You don't know what a republic is. So, your ideology has never won in the past. It will not win going forward. You keep clamoring about your civil war that you want to get started. Well, you're not going to win. You are not going to win. I would advise that you just drop the subject completely. But if you're that hell-bent on it, just get it started. Seriously. If you're that hell-bent, get it started. But we've been hearing about it for the last 15 years. So if you're not going to get it started, shut the fuck up. I'll catch y'all next time.